Hey everybody, I'm going to show you how to pop a dent out of your truck bed after you smash it into a sapling on a hillside. First step is Windex it up. Spray it down, hose it down. Get your dent removal tool. It's a nice unit right here. And then you kind of just go to town. Just say, here, try this, right? Poppy McDent, oh Poppy McDent, I'm going to Poppy McDent, Poppy McDent, Poppy McDent.
Yeah, right. It's still a little dirty, you know, but it's that. It's that Pappy McDent. Yeah, that Pappy McDent.
This video is brought to you by Logan's Poppy McDent Service Incorporated, LLC.
I learned a valuable lesson in my last video, and that is don't post anything that has to do with the word rhymes with fun, but it starts with a letter that comes right after F, and they smell like freedom. But don't post anything like that in your YouTube videos, or YouTube will get a little salty at you. So lesson learned, back to the RX7. So the last time that I did an update on this car, I think the rear end was just sitting on a pallet on the ground, and Michael at Dynasty has been absolutely just thrashing and thrashing and thrashing and thrashing on this thing, and I'm excited to give you all an update on what she's looking like. First thing you'll notice is you can really see directly through the floor there. That's good, right? Up there we have a shock mount bar. And then down here we have a solid rear end that has now found a home, which is awesome. This is the first time Michael has ever tried to attack a swap of this nature or a build of this nature, and I am super stoked with how it's coming out. Again, this is ladder bar. If you watched my video where I went over what I purchased, it is a ladder bar combo without back halving the car completely. This made the most sense for me in my application, and you can go pretty damn fast on a ladder bar combo. But I'm going to get into some of the intricacies of what's had to happen to make this fit, because I know a lot of people have considered going to a solid rear end in an RX-7, but the amount of work it takes is impressive. I mean, this is on paper the quote easy way to do a solid rear end in this car, and it's not easy. I mean, it's a ton. It's way more work than I originally scoped. So I'm gonna go over some of the stuff and you guys can follow along. I should also mention, when it comes to plotting stuff like ladder bar length, like the length of the arms and things of that nature, I didn't have to do a lot of that. The guesswork was kind of taken out of it because I purchased the rear end and the lower arms as a kit from another FDRX7 owner that has had the kit working. This kit specifically, not that it's a kit, this rear end specifically has worked very well on his car. So his time slips were good enough for me, and there are some intricacies that go into it, but I will go over some of that stuff as best I can. So my apologies, it may be a little vague in areas, but at the same time, it is straightforward and you should be able to follow along if you are more intelligent than me, which says something because I'm the one talking. Okay, so getting up front, you'll see the floor pan is cut out, and that is that cross member. And what I'm talking about is this bar right here. Okay, it goes from frame rail to frame rail, even though it's not a true frame rail, rocker, whatever. And I'll show you the inside too. This was just a standard bar with a bend in the center from Competition Engineering, a 60-inch mild steel bar that they sell. It just comes flat with nothing attached. I'm sorry, round with nothing attached to it. But it does come with these ladder bar arm mounts. It comes with 4 of them, obviously. One side for each, a pair for each side rather, if I can speak clearly. And all this stuff has to get, welded in. It has to be tailored to your setup, which is done here. And then also welding, I don't know if you can see it, let me see. But if you look right here, this is a pass-through that he welded inside and out for strength, rigidity, which should help a ton. And then the center where the wishbone connects, you can see this. A lot of people I've seen, they just run a bolt through this heim joint and a nut on the bottom of this. And that's kind of where my head was too. Like, it's probably gonna be fine. And Michael went ahead and boxed it in fully, top and bottom. And then through the center of this is actually a wrist pin out of a piston, and it is welded on both sides for rigidity and strength as well. So you have a few main points here. You got your center for your wishbone that is done. You have your control arm brackets that are also done. Ladder bar arm brackets are also done. But just this bar alone was a massive undertaking. And I'm gonna go topside and show you exactly what it looks like up there so you can get a better idea. All right, pardon my spotlight here, but it's just to kind of, well, obviously help you see. You can see the inside of the rocker right there. We plated, Michael plated, we'll ground down the seam sealer and trash, cut that plate to fit, welded it in place. Then he had to core out the trans tunnel itself. So run the bar through. You can see that the wishbone there going back, okay? So that passes through each side, and then the same on this side, it's plated and welded in. This is not done. We're not done with this crossbar. We're actually gonna tie this crossbar, cut this off. We're actually gonna tie this crossbar forward into this brace and V it in so we have extra support for when these arms try to push this whole cross member forward under acceleration. So any type of forward movement or anything we can tie into the chassis itself. We'll brace the chassis itself, but this is not completely done. But the main, like, it can sit on the ground as it sits right now, but to go to the track and thrash on it, we still have a little bit of work to do there. But you can see just from a cutout standpoint, like the whole floor has to get cut out so the arm can articulate up all the way. You can see that side as well. And then we'll end up having to box this stuff in with sheet metal and then weld it up and repaint the interior as needed, because my butt sits right there. So hopefully it stays intact all next season. And now that you know what it looks like inside, I can come to the back side here and show you what this wishbone connects to, which is obviously the rear end. So the wishbone on either side, this is also the sway bar mount. This is what the lateral links will, not lateral, but the vertical links will connect to on the sway bar. It connects to the bottom of the rear end there. And on this side, you can see where the ladder bars themselves connect up and down. And on the back side of the rear end itself, you can see our lower shock mounts that bolt straight off the housing here, and they tie up topside. So as far as fabrication in the back, so as of right now, the only fabrication you have seen is all the cutting out of the floor pan, the installation of that cross member, and that's effectively it on the front side. And I say that's it, but again, that is a monumental task. It's not a couple hour job. It's a big job. And the back side, you have the whole trunk panel has been removed. This was already cut out. You can see my panel over there where my fuel cell used to sit. That's the actual piece of aluminum. That square cut out is the top side of the fuel cell would stick through. And so this was already removed. That saved some time. But this shock mount bar was not in place. So this was not here prior. It is now, obviously. So you can see he cut these plates out. He plated each side of the rear of the frame here. He started on these as well. These have to get welded in. These bars are just there for structural support. He's got one on each side, and I'll explain what these are going to be for again in just a second. But shock mounts up top, down low, we are done. Basically, the mounting of the shocks, all that stuff is done. I could put this thing on the trailer right now, take it home. It is officially a roller as it sits. One semi-bummer that I have is this is my PST carbon fiber drive shaft. The rear end sits a little farther back than I like. I'm not that I like, but that I would like, just because I don't want to buy another drive shaft. And it's looking like I'm gonna have to buy another drive shaft because that is not a ton of engagement into the trans, unfortunately. But you can see shock mounts up top again. This whole setup, again, huge undertaking, a lot of work. For shocks, I really wanted to get a set of Mensers on the car. I just can't afford it right now. This project became more expensive than I had originally plotted for, but I was able to pick up a set of AFCO big guns for the time being, so these should do the trick. I also have to do suspension in the front. Again, just from a budget standpoint, the big guns were a good option. They're not crazy pricey, and people have some good luck with them. So we'll see how those react when I start dialing this thing in. As for sway bar, Tin Soldiers, their sway bar kit, this bar that's passing through is just a piece of stock to show you what's gonna happen here. Let me see if I can two-hand this. I guess I have to one-hand it, really. Okay, hold on, everyone calm down. So this itself is going to weld up there, and this lateral arm, this billet steel arm will be what connects to the lower sway bar mount. So I know you can't really picture it without it being there, but that's what these are going to be for. We're gonna tee it in, and we're gonna run another bar off the back to support it. So you'll have full shock bar mount, and it'll be a sway bar mount at the same time for the rear end, which is going to be nice because I've never had a worthwhile sway bar. A lot of people say sway bar is not a huge deal on a ladder bar car. I say screw it, let's rock and roll. Now, one thing I am kind of bummed on, the wheels. I think they look cool. I like the fact that they're double bead lock. One thing that I'm bummed about when it comes to the wheels is the offset sucks for my car. I have these over fenders on the car. So in pictures, it looks okay. But when this thing is fully articulated up, these tires and wheels sit a decent bit inside the fender well. So I may address that. I may just say screw it. At the same time, I'm just happy to have this thing in the condition it is right now. This is a huge leap forward. And as far as weight goes, the vehicle weighed 2490 without me in it, with fluids and everything with the IRS. Now bear in mind, we are missing a few things here. We're missing the sheet metal for the floor. I'm missing door panels, which I have LRB door panel deletes that are going back in it. I'm missing a driver's seat, and I'm missing a fuel cell. One thing about fuel cell that I think is pretty cool, this is my old fuel cell. I don't know if you could tell, but it's huge. This is my new fuel cell. It's a 5-gallon cell versus this thing can hold 30 gallons. So it is a huge step down in weight in terms of material. Just an RCI 5-gallon cell. My transkooler's not on there. We have some weight still out of the car. I would venture to say around 75 to 100 pounds of weight that still needs to be added back into the car. That being said, though, let me zero this thing out. Cool. Let's see what it weighs. The rack arms are free from the car. What do we got for weight? 2327. Shoo! That's light. All right. Michael got back from his lunch and just got this sway bar mocked up and ready. This is what I was talking about. It's hard to show you with one hand, but this will obviously be captured and welded here. And then the billet arms. Tin Soldiers sells these as like a weld together kit, or you can buy the billet steel one pieces. I bought these just because number one, they look sick. I think they're awesome to have a CNC billet piece. But number two is it takes a little bit of welding time out because you don't have to weld this up. It's already made for you. But again, this will be the arm that connects to the actual rear end. And then this can articulate up and down. The cool thing about this kit is they sell it with the tube, if I can do this. But they also give you the Heim end with this that sets inside that tube. The OD fits the ID. Obviously, it'll never get like that. Let's hope it never gets like that. But look at that. Now, at full bump, basically a full compression, this arm will end up being about level with the body. And the limiting factor there will be my bump stop. So I don't have a risk of bottoming this thing out. It's not going to smash up. And honestly, if I smash this thing into the bottom of the body that hard, I will have had to do something very dramatic. And this will be the least of my concerns at that point. But that is sick. It's starting to look like a full-blown street car back here. All right, that's all the time I have today. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And we'll catch you on the next episode. I have a truck pulling in here that I have to unload a big old pallet of Go Fast parts from, so I'm hopping off. Have a blessed weekend.
He's the maker of the Papa Pop. He's the maker of the Papa Pop.